Welcome to Sal's Garage. So what we're going to do today is change out the spark plugs on a Jaguar F-Type V6S. We're going to be using these NGK spark plugs. It's link in description for what type it is. First, I'm going to be gapping these spark plugs to about 0.025 inches because I am tuned, so I want to make sure that I don't have any misfires. My car has 70,000 miles on them, so probably time for a new spark plug. So to gap them, you want to use a tool like this. This is a spark plug gapping tool, along with some feeler gauges. You want to try to avoid using these things to gap or even measure. They're not as accurate, at least from what I learned. So we take our feeler gauge, we try to stick it in here, and 25 is pretty small, so that actually fits pretty easily. So I'm gonna try a bigger one here and see if I can measure where it's at in stock form right now. So that barely fits in there for the 30. So let's gap this down a little bit, down to 0.25 or 0.025. So I'm going to use this portion right here to bend it down, like so. Just kind of bending it slightly and gently so I don't break the tip. And then we're going to take our feeler gauge and check it again. So it looks like I went overboard on that one, and I am now smaller than 0.25. So I need to open this back up. I'm going to go in reverse now. And then let's see where we're at now. So it fits again. I think I might have went too big, but we'll see, or too much. I'm going to try a 0.26. See if that fits. Yeah, a little too big. How about 0.28? So it's a little bit of trial and error to get there. I'm going to close that gap again. And I went gently this time. Let's try. Okay, 0.28 doesn't fit anymore. Let's go to the next one down. 0.26. Nope. And let's try a 2.5. If I can find it. Here it is, 0.25. Perfect. So you can tell when you try to kind of put that feeler gauge in, and it's kind of getting a little bit of resistance when you move it side to side. That means that it's right at that gap that you want, which is, I'm looking for 0.25, and this is the recommendation from Euro Toys that I'm going by. So 0.25 gap, this one's good to go. So I gotta do that 6 more times, or 5 more times. Now that that's off, we need to start on these coolant hoses here. There's 2 on each side, another one here. So it's actually really easy. You just, there's a clip up here and one below. You just squeeze it. Squeeze both, push forward, and then pull slowly out. So I just put a bungee cords to hold them in place so they don't keep dripping. Just a little bit of coolant came out, not a lot actually. So with those out, we need to get this off. So I'm gonna take this oil filler cap off, and then we can start to work on getting this thing off. So from the looks of it, we have a few things we need to remove, like this clip right here. This thing needs to move out of the way. So this one I'm gonna wedge out. Now that I got that out, I can start to wiggle this black thing out of here. And this looks like a heat shield or some kind of foam heat pad. But it's on there pretty good, so I'm gonna have to do some wiggling to get this out. Just making sure I'm not pulling out any wires, and it's off. So that's what it looks like. This is going to be tricky putting back on, but where there's a will, there's a way. So this is the passenger side foam cover. So now we have access to our coil packs, 1, 2, and 3 right there. So we need to remove these wires. My guess is you just pry them out of the connectors. All it is a this gray connector here that you pull down, and then you push and then pull the connector out itself from the coil packs. Now we need to move this out of the way, this wiring harness, and all I'm going to do is it's going to push down on this tab and then pry this out. Here's another one. So now that we got this loose here, we need to get these Torx bolts out. I think those are T30 or T40. I'm not sure, but once I figure that out, I'm gonna get those bolts out, and then we can take the coil packs out themselves. So it's a T30. I have it on a long extension swivel, and time to break it loose. So we got about 3 of these we need to do. Those are the 3. And this is on the passenger side. Here's one of the coil packs out. So I got 2 more coil packs to get out, and these are pretty tight spaces, so might have to kind of bend it around a little because it is pretty floppy. This middle one, since the strut tower is here, it's very tricky to get out, but this is the middle one. So we're going to use this tool, this spark plug tool. It's magnetic. It's got a 14mm 12-point socket, and it's thin walled. We're going to go into this hole right over here. Make sure that I have threads on it, or the actual teeth, and we're going to try and loosen. Alright, so first spark plug is out. Let's take a look at it. So this is the first spark plug that I took out. Not too bad, just a little bit of corrosion and wear. But I'm glad I'm just taking these out now and getting them replaced. 70,000 miles is quite a lot for spark plugs. And now that the car is tuned, I do want to make sure that we're running optimally with no misfires. So I'm using a 12-inch extension for the middle one because it's kind of tight space with the strut tower in the way. All right, here is the second spark plug taken out. 3 down, 3 more to go. So we're on the driver's side. I'm going to remove this panel here to give us more space on this edge over here. Pull this out. I have a little more space to get that back one over there. Okay, so we need to do the same thing here, except we have more hoses and this big wire that we have to move out of the way. Just have to squeeze this tab, pull out, and then I can move this out of the way now. So this hose here, there's a button in the back. Push it and then pull out, and then we're gonna scoop this out of the way so we have more space here. There you go. It connects to this hose right over here, and looks like this piece just comes out of that grommet. So I remove this connector by pushing here and then pulling out of this slot. Now this can move freely wherever I need it to. Same thing again. Take this connector, pull it out that way, and then take off that connector, and then we're gonna take out this wiring harness so that we can get access to the T30 bolts to get those coil packs out. Wiring loom unclipped, so I can move that out of the way as needed. We got all of our wires or connectors out of the coil packs as needed, but this time on the driver's side, the freaking bolt is underneath the coil pack right there. Yeah, right there. So that's where the bolt is now. So you're gonna need a nice small angled tool to get to that because it's a tight fit as always. So this is my tool of choice. Really small ratcheting bit driver with a T30 attached to it. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it works, but it's gonna be really slow because I can only get small turns at a time. I might be able to do it by hand. So we got the 3 T30 bolts out. Now it's time to pull out these coil packs. Here's the back one. Middle one. There you go. So the back spark plug well, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna go through this hole or this gap right here, and I'll look for that spark plug well hole, get it in, make sure I got some grip, and then we can start to loosen it. Here we go. All right, 4 down, 2 more to go. I don't know if you should be replacing these every 100,000 miles. This looks kind of rusty and old already. I think it's time to you know, definitely replace them with some new ones. This middle one is tricky to find the right angle, but I went underneath the fuel rail again, or whatever this rail is. What kind of have to wiggle this around out of the way, and then I went through this middle portion of the strut tower, and then I got a good hold. I'm gonna connect the ratchet and try to break it loose. All right, success. This middle one in particular is pretty bad, especially around the porcelain of the plug. It's got some rust on it, so I need to probably put some dielectric grease or something to kind of waterproof that up a little more. This is the one in the front driver's side of the engine. Doesn't look too bad on this one. So we got all the spark plugs out. I'm gonna be putting some dielectric grease on this part of the spark plug, the porcelain part, and I'm gonna try to avoid the connector here. I'm just gonna get it on this porcelain piece, and then we're gonna thread these in by hand, and then I'm gonna grab my torque wrench and we're gonna torque it to 17 foot-pounds of torque. So I threaded it by hand. I got my torque wrench here. I'm gonna wait till it starts to click. And there's the clip. I'm on the middle one now, on the driver's side, threading it in by hand, waiting for it to tighten up. And there it is. Take your torque wrench, connect it, and tighten it until it clicks. Time to pull it out. So I'm just lubing up this porcelain area of the spark plug, trying to avoid the end where it connects to the connector of the coil pack. Okay. Place it into your socket. Find the angle. Be careful when you put it in because you don't want to mess with that gap. I'm looking right at the hole, gently putting it in, and then I'm going to tighten it by hand until it doesn't go anymore, and then we'll torque it to spec. Pull it out. Need to put the coil packs back to where they go. On the driver's side, it orients this way with the screw facing downwards. We're gonna go to the hole over there where you see it. See if I can wiggle this in. I'm just gonna push it in until it stops going all the way. Should be a little easier with that dielectric grease. Once it's in position, I can tighten the T30 bolt. As you push in those coil packs, I got one in already along with the bolt. As you push it in, just make sure you really push all the way in so that it contacts the spark plug. And then it's tight fit in here, but let's see if I can get my hand in and start hand tightening that T30 bolts. So that was one of the more time-consuming things to do, was getting all those tightened, but they're good to go. Now we just gotta put these wires back into the spark plugs, or the coil packs. Alright, so right now I'm trying to put back the foam padding on the driver's side. Alright, so this thing was a pain in the ass to put back. My best suggestion is to just kind of put it in from the front and then wedge it downward this way towards the end of the car. And then there's little grommets that you push in to make sure it's seated in place. Put the oil cap back on. I'm gonna reconnect these over here, reconnect all these back into their parts, and then we're gonna go onto the other side and do the other 3 spark plugs that we forgot. I got all the coil packs put back in. I just need to put this wire loom, clip it back into place. There's 3 clips. Line them up and then push in. 1, 2, and 3. Right there. Okay, those are back in. Now we need to get our coil pack connectors into our coil packs themselves right over here. So just push them in until they clip. So all the coil packs are back on nice and tight. I put the clip for the wires back in place, wired all the coil packs in. Now we got to put this back, the foam pad for the passenger side. Okay, overall, not as hard as the driver's side. I'm just gonna clip it in by pushing it into its little grommets, and then we'll move on to the next step. Last thing to do on this side is to put back these coolant lines. It just push them in and they clip. We are now ready to put our cover back. And that's how you do spark plug change on a Jaguar F-Type. Thanks for watching. Time to go start the car and test drive it, see if there's any issues. Hopefully not. Looks like we're ready to take it for a test drive. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm always down to help. This is Sal's garage. Not really a garage, but one day I'll get one. Signing out. See you guys later.